Hello everyone, this is Zachary Julian, and this is Julian Discussions, where we discuss everyone's favorite topic, politics. What we're going to be looking at today is the 2022 Senate midterm elections. On this map right now, you can see what I would call the safest states. You have the pretty solid West Coast for the Democrats. You have New York, you have New Hampshire, Connecticut, Maryland, and actually we're going to downgrade New Hampshire to a toss-up state. And then also noted are all the retirements. The second district in Oklahoma, one of their senators is retiring, creating a special election. But we can go ahead and fill in some of these in. They're really safe states. Oklahoma, Alabama, Missouri. And I'm going to leave Ohio and North Carolina for now. This leaves a few states that are competitive, but not really this year. Those would be Iowa, Florida, New Hampshire, almost exclusively because of the year it is that I don't have it safe. Vermont, though, Patrick Lee might be retiring, but I don't see that going to Republicans. That leaves Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, North Carolina, and New Hampshire. I don't think New Hampshire goes. It's just not a very Republican place. I mean, the last time that it has went to a Republican candidate at the national level in a presidential election was 04, and that was influenced by a number of factors, most notably 9/11's response. I just don't see that changing right now. So I'm going to say that I would say lean Democrat. Now we're going to go to New Hampshire. I feel like it's pretty likely that goes Democrat. Republican, I'm going to give Ohio it. I don't see any way it doesn't. I'm going to ignore Wisconsin for now. Wisconsin, there's too much left to be decided in that race. You have the primary election hasn't even happened. There's 3 or 4 candidates who have very good chances in that Democratic primary. So until August 8th, I believe that primary is, I'm just not going to talk about that. The races of note here are Arizona, Georgia, and Pennsylvania, and to an extent North Carolina. Arizona, you have Senator Mark Kelly, pretty popular, and the polls just continue to show that. If we can get to the most recent Arizona one, I mean, 17-point lead, those don't disappear often. Yes, it could be a disappear. I don't see it happening. So we're going to leave it there. We're going to say Mark Kelly wins that seat. We're going to just leave that alone. And Georgia, we're going to talk about later. North Carolina presents an interesting case. Because if you go and you look at the presidential election history, this is a really cool site, map.jacksonjude.com. Really cool site, lets you view past elections. But the last time that a Democrat won a statewide race, presidential, Senate, whatever, for the national level, was in 2008. Barack Obama, and also the last senator from North Carolina that was Democrat, Kay Hagan, both won in 08. Since then, no Democrat has won Senate or presidential electoral vote. So we're going to go ahead. We're just going to give that to the Republican side. That leaves Pennsylvania and Georgia that I want to talk about here. So Georgia presents a very interesting case. You have an election nobody thought was possible, and actually it was a set of 2 elections back 2 years ago now. Last year, I guess, 2021 was the runoff, but you have John Ossoff winning a seat and Raphael Warnock winning a seat. Now, normally senators serve 6-year terms, but Senator Warnock won a special election, so he is up again for re-election this year. Because of this, it's been one of the top Republican targets, because the Senate is currently tied 50-50. There's not very much to happen. All of that. part of the reason we have so much stalemates. You have Senator Manchin, who from the Democratic side, who are just holding up a lot of bills. On the Republican side, they're just trying to get political willpower, and most of them will admit that. That being said, there is not a lot of people who really think that Georgia is irrelevant. It's very important. And if I can find the Georgia race here quick. Democrats are winning by about 5 cents, which on this website, and that's not insignificant. People are not going to put their money on a candidate if they don't think there is a good chance they win. If you go back to polling, a lot of it has been done in Georgia. It has Senator Warnock winning by about 10 points over Herschel Walker. Remember, Herschel Walker has been with President Trump through much of this process, and it seems like President Trump is still not a very popular person in Georgia. His ties might not have now cost Republicans 3 Senate elections in the past 2 years. That's not insignificant, and this is also important because Georgia is very, very representative of the country at large politically, very purple state now, and even more importantly, honestly, for Georgia is if Walker is tied to Trump close enough, that might affect the governor's race. I'm not saying it will, but it will definitely affect the Senate race. This is a definite race to keep an eye on. But just because of the massive polling differences and everything, I do think that Senator Warnock will maintain his seat. And also more election polling on Arizona. 17 points, Kelly, 17 points, Kelly, 14 points, Kelly. I think both of the runoff, the upset races in 2020 are going to stay. I don't think the Democrats lose their Senate majority, which is very weird to say. I mean, the last time that a Democratic president had midterms their first year in, or 2 years into their first term was Barack Obama in 2010, and that was one of the largest swings in political power in American history. The Tea Party came in, part of Republicans and a lot of senators, and that this was the same map as that year. A lot of senators came in. I want to say Democrats lost 5 or 6 seats in that Senate that year, and a lot more than you would normally find in the House. So with that, we move on to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a very massive state here because this represents the Democrats' best chance to pick up a state and with that control of the Senate. You have Dr. Mehmet Oz, running as a Republican in this state, having recently won the primary election. Of note here is that he was very tied to Trump in the Republican primary process. However, since then, he has started to disagree with, or not necessarily disagree, but remove himself from Trump, create distance from Trump, playing to the will of Pennsylvanians as a very purple area again. And on the Democrat side, you have, I believe, Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman, who is recovering from a stroke right now. But this is another one of where if you just you look at where people are putting their money, they love Democrats in this race. And deservedly so if you look at polling. 4 points, 6 points. Yeah, look, these aren't massive numbers. But this is also an open seat. This isn't like Georgia or Arizona to where there is an incumbent in the race. But if you go back to not even almost a month ago, you have John Fetterman winning by 9 points. This just is not a very important race that Democrats feel they should be too concerned about. Because of that, I'm going to say leans Democrat. I would say likely if Fetterman was an incumbent, but he is not. And I also do want to point out North Carolina. It should be in that lean category as well. This is very, very close, but due to the electoral history of the state, I just don't see it going to the Democrats. And I believe that this website is very much in agreement. Yeah, that's just a massive difference. That leaves Wisconsin, which we are not going to talk about until the Democratic primary is settled. But you definitely have some very interesting stuff going on. It's another very politically diverse state. You have two big cities in it that represent the majority of the Democratic base in Madison and Milwaukee. And then outside those cities, it's a very rural area, a very conservative state outside those two areas. But because of that, it makes for elections being very hard to predict. But if we go look at the polling in Wisconsin, Lieutenant Governor Barnes would be projected to win by 2 points in this poll by Marquette Law. Former Speaker of the Wisconsin Legislature by 1 point. Got Sarah Godlewski, who I believe is the current state treasurer, up by 2 points. But then Alex Lassery, the son of the owner of the Milwaukee Bucks, is projected to lose by 3 points. But this is all within 5 points of one another. This isn't like a lot of people have made up their minds, and just Johnson never goes above 45% in any of these polls. No candidate goes above the 46% that Lieutenant Governor Barnes has. Because of that, it's just hard to predict. I mean, predict it really leans on this being a Republican hold. I'm not sure I agree with that, but I definitely understand that. But for now, I would say it's very much a toss-up. Maybe a tilt Republican, win by less than a percentage point, which is very much how Wisconsin has gone lately. 0.63 points, 0.76 percentage points, very small gaps. And I'm very much in agreement with this. This is like a consensus of all the major polls in the Georgia, Arizona. It has Nevada as a very contested state. I disagree with that one. I mean, we can look at the electoral history. It's been 04. As I mentioned, 04 had 9/11. Very much a redder map than you would normally find. Even Colorado went to the Republican side. That was very much a shift from prior elections. I mean, very big difference. And that really just leaves Wisconsin as something I'm not sure about. And New Hampshire also, it's a seat that I believe that thus the Senate forecast. So no, it does actually have that being Democrat, but a lot of people aren't sure about this due to just the kind of diverse state. It's politically different state it's in, but I think Maggie Hassan will maintain her seat in the Senate for another 6 years. So this is where we're at. 51 Democrats, 49 Republicans, and that gets 49 Democrats with 2 independents. Senator Sanders, of course, being one of them. And just because of how Senator Sanders says, I don't see him getting involved in the Vermont campaign on the Democratic side. I think he'll stay quiet. And I am blanking on who the second independent senator is. But that's where we're looking. You have a lot to look out for in the next month. This could change a lot. Wisconsin will hopefully clear up before that primary with who's going to win that Democratic nomination. And after that, you would assume that that race becomes a lot more decisive and not these polls that are all within 2 or 3 points of one another. Anyways, that's all I got for y'all today. Have a good night.